This week isn't just big, it's game-changing. General Hospital.
The wind outside Port Charles City Hall howled like a warning no one could quite decipher. Inside, the tension was far easier to read. Mayor Laura Collins stood rigidly in the corridor just outside her office, her jaw clenched, her eyes fixed on a point far beyond the walls. The weight of the town seemed to press against her shoulders. Every decision, every accusation, every whisper of scandal, it was all closing in. "I'm beginning to care less and less," she said coldly to the shadowed figure standing across from her. But that wasn't true. Laura cared too much. That was the problem. Because somewhere in the chaos of Professor Dalton's death, whispers had begun to circulate. Dangerous whispers. And at the center of them all was Sidwell, a man who thrived in darkness, who twisted truth into weapons. Laura knew he would come for her. It was only a matter of time. And when he did, she would need to be ready. Across town, far from politics but not from trouble, the stables echoed with the sharp scent of hay and earth. Tracy Quartermain, though looking nothing like her usual composed self, stumbled inside, her clothes stained, her hair wild, her pride clearly wounded. Cody Bell turned at the sound of her boots scraping against the floor. "Whoa, what happened to you?" he asked, stepping forward. "I fell," Tracy snapped, brushing dirt from her sleeve with visible irritation. "From a horse, in case that wasn't obvious." Cody raised an eyebrow. "You don't sound thrilled about it." "Thrilled?" Tracy shot back. "I don't do falling, Cody. I certainly don't do it in public." But beneath her sharp tone was something else, something quieter. Vulnerability. The kind Tracy never allowed anyone to see. Cody softened. "You okay?" She hesitated, just for a second. "I will be," she said finally, though her voice didn't carry the same certainty. At Alexis Davis's house, the atmosphere was heavy in an entirely different way. Molly Lansing Davis lay curled on the couch, her eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. The room was silent except for the faint ticking of a clock, each second stretching longer than the last. A knock broke the stillness. Cody stepped in cautiously. "Hey, I just wanted to check on you." Molly turned her head slightly, her expression tightening. "You're making this so much harder for me." The words hit harder than she intended. Cody paused, unsure. "I'm trying to help," he said gently. "I know," Molly whispered, closing her eyes. "That's the problem." Because leaning on someone meant admitting she couldn't carry this alone. And Molly had spent her entire life convincing herself that she didn't need anyone. But now, everything felt like it was slipping through her fingers. Cody moved closer, his voice steady. "You don't have to do this by yourself." For a moment, Molly said nothing. Then, quietly, almost inaudibly, she replied, "I don't know how not to." Meanwhile, across town, a discovery was about to change everything. Stella Henry stood frozen in Jordan's living room, her eyes locked on the object in her hand, a pregnancy test. Positive. Her mind raced as Jordan entered, stopping short at the sight of Stella holding the truth she hadn't been ready to share. Silence filled the space between them. "You were going to tell me?" Stella asked, her voice calm but edged with disbelief. Jordan exhaled slowly. "I didn't know how." Stella stepped closer. "Does Curtis know?" Jordan shook her head. "No." "He should," Stella said firmly. Jordan looked away, her expression conflicted. "He already has enough going on. And this isn't part of that?" Stella countered. Jordan hesitated. "I don't even know if I'm keeping the baby." That stopped Stella cold. "You don't mean that." "I do," Jordan replied, her voice trembling just slightly. "This isn't simple." Stella's gaze softened, but her resolve didn't waver. "Nothing about family ever is. But you don't get to make this decision alone. Not when it affects more than just you. Jordan swallowed hard, knowing Stella was right, even if she wasn't ready to admit it. Elsewhere, in the shadows of Port Charles, a different kind of decision was being made. Jason Morgan stood across from Sonny Corinthos, the air between them thick with unspoken understanding. "I'll handle it," Jason said simply. Sonny studied him. "You sure?" Jason nodded. "I'll fix the problem before I leave town." There was no hesitation, no doubt, because when Jason made a promise, it wasn't just words, it was a guarantee. But in Port Charles, fixing a problem often came at a cost. And this time that cost might be higher than anyone expected. Days earlier, emotions had already begun unraveling across the city. Maxie and Lulu stood face to face, their friendship hanging by a thread. "You lied to me," Maxie said, her voice breaking. "You stood there and acted like nothing was happening." Lulu's eyes filled with guilt. "I didn't plan this." "That doesn't make it better." Nathan's name hung unspoken between them, a wedge driven deep into years of trust. "If I walked away from him because of you," Lulu said softly, "I'd end up resenting you." Maxie let out a bitter laugh. "Well, I guess it's better if I'm the one who's resentful, right?" The words stung more than either of them expected. For a moment, it seemed like there was no way back. Then Lulu whispered, "You're my person." Maxie's composure cracked. Because no matter how much it hurt, some bonds weren't meant to break. At the PCPD, another mystery was unfolding. Dante stood over a table filled with clues, small pieces of a much larger puzzle. Baby Jane Doe's identity remained unknown, but a breakthrough had finally come. "A woman matching the description got off a train from Manhattan," he said. "We've got luggage." Chase leaned in, hopeful. This could be it. But as they searched through the belongings, their optimism faded. "Just a name," Dante muttered, holding up a tag. "Wilson." It wasn't enough. Not yet. But it was a start. At the hospital, Brooklyn sat quietly beside the newborn, her heart aching with a longing she couldn't ignore. "I knew your mom," she whispered to the baby. "At least a little." She watched the tiny rise and fall of the infant's chest, her emotions threatening to overwhelm her. "I hope you find your family," she said softly. "Everyone deserves that." Behind her, Chase watched, his own heart breaking for her. "You will too," he said gently. Brooklyn didn't respond. Because hope was a dangerous thing when you weren't sure you could survive being disappointed again. Meanwhile, at Charlie's pub, music filled the air as Gio strummed his guitar, lost in thought. Sonny approached quietly. "You're good." Gio shrugged. "I don't know what I'm doing." "Yeah, you do," Sonny replied. "You just don't trust it yet." Gio looked down at his hands. "Everything I thought I knew about my life turned out to be wrong." Sonny nodded. "That doesn't mean you stop figuring it out." "What if I mess it up?" Sonny smiled faintly. "You will." Gio blinked. "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "It should," Sonny said, "because messing up means you're actually living." Gio considered that, and for the first time in a long time he allowed himself to imagine a future that wasn't defined by his past. Back at the nail salon, another truth exploded into the open. "You're pregnant," Portia said, staring at Jordan in disbelief. Jordan didn't answer. She didn't have to. The look on her face said everything. And just like that, another secret in Port Charles was no longer safe. As the sun set over the city, the pieces of countless stories began to shift into place. Laura stood at the center of a political storm. Tracy faced a rare moment of vulnerability. Molly struggled to accept help. Jordan's secret threatened to change everything. Jason prepared to take matters into his own hands. Maxie and Lulu fought to save a friendship that might never be the same. And somewhere, A baby waited to be claimed by a past that refused to stay buried. In Port Charles, nothing stayed hidden forever. And when the truth finally came out, no one would be ready for the fallout.